So thank you, first of all, Ilias, for coming along today. We really appreciate your participation in our Sovereign Cloud Day. Let's start with an introduction about who you are and what you do.
So I'm a colleague of Pierre and Piers that was here this morning. So we are actually one very close club in Directorate E of DigiConnect. I'm many decades in DigiConnect. I was in digitizing healthcare, and most of that lessons I learned in digitizing healthcare, I'm applying for the last 5 years, 6 years in environment. I was a part of a team, I created a team that actually introduced the topic of green digital transition to the commission, to this commission. So before Ursula von der Leyen was actually voted, we already proposed to do the nexus between green and digital. Why did we do that? Because we lived in parallel universes for 30 years. Digital agenda, and I'm there since beginning of 90s, and I was part of development of digital agenda, never cared about environment, and environment never cared about us. For 30 years, we were two teams, DigiClima, DigiEnvironment, writing their own things, and agendas for greening the environment, and we were there writing about digitizing our society. Happily, completely apart, happily from a distance. How many of you actually worked in environmental issues or do work on environment? Just 3, 4, I rest my case. So basically we were oblivious to that. And it was okay because we were not the big problem. The transport, 30% of emission, the buildings, the industrial emissions, that's what environment was caring about. We were there, new kid on the block, no care. Now we are 3% of the total emissions. We are the biggest e-waste category. So as a waste, we are the fastest growing waste category, this electronics. So they noticed. So it's like kind of a reptile brain of politicians where they don't see something that is moving slowly, but we moved fast. For the last decade, we moved fast, and they, how it is. The reptile just looks at what is fast moving. So they noticed us, and they say, okay, but that's bad, because we missed the opportunity to be proactive. And when they notice us, it's for bad reasons. So they say, you guys are polluting. When I go to environmental conferences and I say, guys, what is digital for you? Is it a solution to climate change or a pollution? 70+% say pollution. So we have a problem. They don't understand us. I will scream, that's okay. So they don't understand us. They think, digitalization is this data in the database that allows me to model the environment, that allows me to understand a problem. While I'm trying to convince people, no, this is something that you can use to act on a problem. So when they see it, when they reduce the understanding of digital to understand some data in the database, for them, why all these data centers and cloud solutions are spending so much electricity, which is, all ICT sector is like 7-8% of electricity, 3% of emissions. Why all that for a few data that I have in my database? So that's why I'm there, and my basic reason to be here is to show that digitalization is a positive force for environment. But that we need to quantify. So that's why I made a coalition, and that's why you joined it. So welcome to the coalition. And many of you actually, as companies, and Pascal was here, and KPN was here, we are all part of the coalition. Yeah.
Fascinating history, and it's really interesting to see the evolution of, I would say, concern and priority now placed on digital and green together as one. Given there is a huge rise in things like data center energy consumption, and there's new legislation coming for that, where would you say we are today from a point in time perspective?
So today, when somebody says green digital transition, majority of the people think that the green people and the digital people are more equal than the other people. So the green transition and digital transformation is more equal, more important than demographic transformation. And that's, you can see it actually in the way we spend money. You know what the RRF, Next Generation EU, Recovery and Resilience Funds? So we threw around member states 700 billion euro. And what did we tell them? Spend 20% on digital, 37% on green. Do you know, and then I went and looked at what member states proposed. How much green do you think it's in the digital? I mean, we have tables, and we asked them to indicate 0. 27 member states put 0 about what they will do greening their digital. I mean, they put it there themselves, 0. How much digitalization you think is in the green part? I mean, some countries were smart enough to put some things, but like connected mobility, but it's missed opportunity for you guys. It's a huge market. Most of the banks, they committed to say, I will only give money to sustainable development. Most World Bank, EIB, National Promotional Banks, they said 30%. Today it's 50%. By 2030, it'll be 75% of financing will go only to sustainable things. And you are not on the menu. You are not on the menu. Just do something about this.
And when we say sustainable things, sustainability means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Right.
Now, how does the EU look at sustainability from a digital and economic perspective?
Sustainability is a three-dimensional world, and it's actually, there is a definition. There are sustainable development goals. There is a definition of sustainability. Sustainability is three-dimensional world, and everybody's kind of trying to reduce it. There are three dimensions: economic dimension, social dimension, and environmental dimension. As digital, for 30 years, we kind of reduced the sustainability to one dimension, economic. We are the locomotive of economy. I mean, just look at the top 100 companies in the world. We are the economy. Did we care about social? We did. I mean, if you look at our DigiConnect, we have a digital economy and society index. So we actually started understanding that we have impact on society, inclusion, inequalities, gender, skills, human rights, privacy. I mean, we just discussed that. The sovereignty is also around those issues. But we never cared about environment. Environment is just a completely new dimension that we just discovered. You say, okay, so we need to square it in. So ESG is now part of the companies. But where we are today is where we actually reduce ourselves to a very little unimportant element, how to green ourselves. So every sustainability officer of every company, the headache from CEO is make sure that we do not look bad as a company with respect to sustainability. Make sure that we drive, according to SBTi, so we drive ourselves to net zero. Make sure that we are a green company. Guys, my main message of today is, who cares? This will not save the world. Your responsibility is to green the others. I repeat, you becoming 2% of total emissions, making it 1% will not save the world. Of course, you have to be green, but this is not something that you advertise as groundbreaking. This is your responsibility to green yourself, fine. But there is a bigger responsibility. ICT in general, cloud services and edge tomorrow are responsible to go into offensive to help energy sector, transport sector, construction sector, agriculture sector, manufacturing, retail, finance to be more sustainable. And they cannot get there without you. If I had to choose one sector, one silver bullet, if say we have only one silver bullet to save one of the sectors I mentioned, I would say you choose circular economy. Make our economy more circular. Without digital, it's not possible.
Now you're going to have to explain circular economy.
Okay. So what happens here? There's a triple crisis. So there is the climate change that everybody talks about, but there are equally, if not more equal, two other crises, and that's biodiversity loss and pollution. The driver of this triple crisis, the major problem, the major driver of this is the non-circularity, is the way we run the economy. Our economy is the reason of this triple crisis. Our economy is based on materials. Every GDP What does it mean? So if your prime minister says, we grew 2% this year, this means we excavated 2% or more natural resources, and that's not only oil and gas, that's wood, that's rare earth materials, metals, sand, soil, I mean, you name it. Natural resource is one-to-one linked to GDP. So when we say we growing, means we are excavating natural resource, because all the business, majority of the business models are quantity-based. How does ICT make, well, not you, software as a service is already there, but most of the economy is run by quantity. So more cars I sell, more iPhones I sell, or phones, or mobile phones I sell, more pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers I sell, more furniture I sell. So it's more tons of materials I sell, more money I make. That's how the economy is run. What we should be doing is to sell services. Everything is a service. Mobility as a service. Pesticides as a service, agriculture. So instead of selling pesticides, you go to farmers and say, I need X amount per hectare, and I will protect the plants. I will become a digital company. I buy drones, IoT, laptops, satellite connectivity if needed for imaging, and I will run the service of protecting your plant. What will that do? It will incentivize me to put as little chemicals as possible. Today, my marketing is to make you buy every year more chemicals. If I become a service company, I will try to be intelligent through the data and cloud service to make sure that I use as little as possible. It's same for cars, and that paradigm is true for everything. Mobility, furniture, washing machines, and there are already companies that get the picture. So I talk to companies, they see this as an opportunity. It's actually a business opportunity. You can sell the same thing many times. You can make money on the same things many times. Second hand, third hand, refurbish, repair, again and again. Decathlon is doing it already, by the way, here in Brussels. You have a monthly subscription, and you can have everything you want, 500 euro of worth home. So you can take 4 pairs of ski for your family during the winter. You can have camping gear in the spring. You can have rackets, tennis rackets, badminton, whatever, in the summer. You just take it, give it. And their business changed completely. Instead of importing, they are into local jobs, refurbishment, cleanup, repair, remanufacture if needed. So their business completely changed, but it's profitable business. But saving materials and basically serving the needs of people through less materials is the way to go. How? By having situational awareness. They need data for everything. Data along the supply chain, but data with the retail and the consumer. I need to know what is the performance of that washing machine if I am responsible. I have extended producer ownership of that. So I need to know all the time. Car battery, I know to know the performance. I know to know where to replace, what to do with it when it's end of life. So this data, it's a huge opportunity for you, because we have introduced something called digital product passport. For every product, there will be kind of a digital twin of the product with the data, sustainability data about the product. Millions of SMEs will not know how to host this data. They will come to you and say, can you give me digital product passport as a service? This is a huge market opportunity. There are 4 trillion products. They will need data to be captured about them and managed securely, because it'll be actually differentiated access rights. It will not be open to everything. Consumers will only see part of it, but supply chain, repairer, manufacturer, recyclers, they will see other parts as well. So that is a market opportunity for you, but it's also your responsibility to go out and say that story and incentivize people. Because today they come and say, well, I will come to you as a cloud service, but I also, as a company, need to be greener. So tell me how much I'm saving going to you. So, and there are some calculators, which every company has its own calculator. They say, okay, you're saving so much. So it would be good to actually to align these calculations, but that's not enough. Just making them greener because they virtualize their operations, that's one part. But pushing them to start thinking to offer their whatever they're doing as a service and then running that as a service business, that is something I'm trying to tell you today as a responsibility of you to teach them. Make them, well, your responsibility is to give them response, ability to be greener. You with me? They don't have the response ability to be greener. So it's your responsibility to make them, to give them those tools to have a response ability to be greener, because that's what we're pushing, Europe is pushing. And this story is not European, it's global. So we need to go beyond.
It's a fascinating strategy, and I can see how the moving from a linear economy to a circular economy as a service has many benefits and repercussions outside of just energy consumption and things like that. It's a much broader conversation. It's going to require huge volumes of data. How are you going to measure this, and how are you going to open this to non-EU trade organizations?
So the digital product passport, is anybody of you that have heard about this, what I'm talking about, digital product passport? So I know, should I introduce it, or is it completely new word for you? So it created a shockwave when we introduced it last year in the regulation on eco-design for sustainable products. So I have every day kind of governments, enterprise networks, companies asking, well, how are we going to do it? What is happening? So it will be very specific data set that will be decided for each product category through a delegated act. So we are now finalizing the framework regulation that gives the Commission the power to go into and select. We prioritize which product categories will go. So most probably textiles will be one of the first. Steel, cement, and others. Electronics, I don't see to be the first, but at some point we will get there because they already have the apparel. So we will go and basically decide which data has to be captured for apparel or shoes or something. That means that along the value chains, the more equal partner is the manufacturer. He will have to bring data and say, this is the cotton, it was produced there. This is the chemicals to dye the jeans. So this is the footprint of sewing it and create a shoe. So there'll be a lot of data they have to, and that was the water that was consumed to do the jeans. They are responsible for that, but they will push down the supply chain and say, guys, give me this data, I don't want. And the preferred suppliers will be those that give the data.
Right.
So they will kind of push down the supply chain these data requirements because we cannot mandate what's happening outside of Europe. But then the important thing is what's happened afterwards with the retail, with the repairer. So we actually, when you have your phone, when there is a change of battery, so eco-design, we will make sure that it's all modular, but that it's also there is spare parts to repair. So the durability will be the key. So that kind of data set will be used for durability of that product, to be reused, to be refurbished, to be repaired, whatever. So that data set will need a lot of exchanges of data, and these actors along the value chains will not know how to do it. So they will come to you guys. Can you secure it? So that's where the sovereignty comes in. Can you, in a sovereign way, manage my data? And that's the link, basically, between today's discussion and what we're talking about. So there will be a lot of requirements by the market at large for sovereignty type of solutions to manage my product data. And what we learn in the medical records, healthcare, we can easily now apply there because it will be less sensitive than medical records, but there will be much bigger scales.
Yeah. Okay, so a real innovation, like you say. For our audience today, key initiatives around things like data centers. So just bringing it back a little bit. The vision is the DPP. First of all, how far away do you think we are of having...
Well, the first DPP will be on the market. It's already decided. It's the battery, big batteries. I mean, battery, not the small ones that you put, the AA and the AAAs, but anything bigger than, I think, 2 kilos battery. So even the bicycles or scooters, batteries will be regulated, and they will have a DPP as of January 27. Then the other... later on in 27, we will have maybe the textiles. So it'll be slow because we will take 2-3 categories per year.
Okay. And so for our sort of providers and customers here, obviously the format and strategy you use for data exchange and the frameworks that are going to be put in place, can you provide any kind of guidance on what that may look like? Should they be working with things like GaiaX, or is there other things that you're looking at the moment that may result in implementation for them at a later date?
There is a call for proposal that I actually wrote, and it's open now called Digital Product Passport pilot for 2 product categories that is in the Digital Europe program. So if you just Google Digital Europe program and Digital Product Passport, you will see announcement with the deadline 26th of September. If you are as a company interested, you're welcome to apply. There you will see actually what are already kind of standards that we have landscaping of standards. So we already decided what we think will be the final set of standards. We have not yet finished the standardization of that beast, but we say simple and Gaia X indirectly standards, what you're working on as digitizing the industry should be part, because it's about economy. It's not about environmental information to citizens. And because we are 5 DGs, tax suit, environment, energy, grow, and us, every DG has its own view, and it's like 5 people touching an elephant. Nobody really understands this beast, but we all see what we want with it. Environment is very keen about providing right and correct information to consumers. I care more about changing the business models from quantity-driven to this. That will change the world. Telling people, giving them more information about the product will not change much. Why I'm saying that? Because for 40 years in healthcare, we tried to change people because we gave them information about alcohol and tobacco and all that stuff. I see how much we might out of that, and I say, no. Changing business model is much more important. Because I already have my fingers burned through trying to give, information for healthier behavior. We are so irrational that unless you make the product cheaper, forget any greening of our economy.
Okay, so I think we're at time now, Ilias. What would be your final thoughts?
My suggestion is to repeat again, guys, your responsibility.
Yeah.
You are the economy. And cloud is the heart of ICT sector. ICT sector's responsibility is to help the others, not only to green yourself. So your sustainability officers, of course, they care about energy. They have to report, and we actually will hit you now with the energy efficiency directive delegated act, what exactly you as data centers and cloud services will have to report. So this is coming any moment. That's fine, but don't see it as a burden. See it as an opportunity that when I report this every year, I will be able to show how much, despite the traffic that I'm handling, my footprint is constant. So see it more as an opportunity to see that you will be able to demonstrate quantitatively that you are green yourself, but go beyond. Go into offense, change the other sectors thinking what they need to do, and that creates market for you. And if we quantify, which we do in the coalition, so we're creating a standard how to quantify your enablement, my ultimate goal is that we put this sector under sustainable finance. At the moment, you are not on the menu of sustainable finance, which will be the dominant financing from 2030 onwards. So think how I'm going to get on the menu of green money by measurable indicators of how I'm enabling the transition to net zero of energy, transport, agriculture, circular economy. Am I clear?
Absolutely.
Good.
From my personal experience, I've seen just that. Thank you. We have time for a couple of questions for our in the audience. Just check online.
And none. No.
There are none. Come on.
Yes, there is one. Do you want?
Oh,
yeah, that's okay. I'll scream.
So Ilya, thank you very much. Super interesting. What I was wondering, reading the media about cloud computing, it's all about scope 3 and cloud computing, the major American ones, they're really, really bad. So are you thinking then the DPP for cloud services will build into the scope 3, or will it just replace then some kind of KPIs of scope 3, or how do you see that?
Right. Two things. So if you think about yourself as cloud service, you have to think not energy consumption. I'm not worried at all about your energy consumption because it's your bill and you will take care of it much better than us as a government coming and telling you have to be more energy. Come on. You have much bigger incentive than that. What we care about that you are circular with your equipment. So first, let's look at your circularity as a sector, and then how we help circularity of the others. We would like that you move into, let's say, server as a service. Lease the services. Make sure that whoever is leasing you the hardware is on circularity trip, that they refurbish, they do at least 3 cycles with each server, with the building, with the powers, with the water consumption. Try to be more material efficient, not only energy efficient. That is the forgotten story. Now, when you start giving DPP as a service to, let's say, fertilizers companies, so you go and talk to Bayer or BAS for others, you will reduce their scope 3 because they use less materials. You will reduce their scope 3, so they will see it, and scope 3 in ICT companies like 85% of the emissions is scope 3. So that is the biggest scope, biggest amount. By making it circular, using less material, you helping them the scope 3. So you actually are enabling them to go to net zero trajectory, at 1.5 degree trajectory of SBTI. Without you, they cannot do it because they need to minimize scope 3 means minimize materials and the durability of my products to be there for longer. Because also it's 2 ways. It's the supply chain, but it's also what people do with my product. If they're throwing it away very fast, my scope 3 is bad. So to minimize the materials I use and maximize the durability and reuse of my materials shrinks my scope 3. The DPP as a service will be minuscule cost to what you give them as enablement, because there will be green money telling them you can get green money for such service, product as a service. So you will really enable them to be greener and to be more profitable and to be also, financed better.
And the challenges with scope 3 has always been measuring scope 3.
Exactly.
The DPP will provide.
There are many methods. It's very technical. So there is now, actually, I don't know if there is Fujitsu or NEC. So the Green X Digital Consortium, which is mostly the Japanese companies, but we collaborate, have just issued the visualization of the scope 3 emissions. So there are guidelines with the World Business Council and Green Digital and GHG protocol that we work on. So we are converging how to measure and how to visualize for you as a company and helping the others how to visualize. So it will be actually as a service to visualize my emissions as well. And DPP will be kind of a single place of truth that will spit out many reporting. Then, on the social issues as well, although we do not regulate, but you can voluntarily add that. So it will create a place where you can put all the data for all the non-financial reportings you need to spit out, which now you're bombarded from so many green regulations, it will be a nightmare for you. I would not want to be in your place because Green Deal was the mother of all legislations. That mother was pregnant every week. If you look at the last 18 months, every week there is a regulation or directive around environmental issues. And it's pollution, nature restoration, deforestation, wastewater treatment, you name it. Every week there is something. And we were not better as DG Connect, Data Act, Chips Act, Cyber Act, Raw Material Act, Net Zero Act, DSA, DMA. I've been in commission 3 decades. I've never seen so many regulations and directives in 2 years. This is the most productive from legislative point of view, which is actually making you tired. There is a fatigue and there is a pushback because it's too much for council, parliament, but also for market. They are completely numb by what we have produced in the last 18 months. And I must sympathize.
Yeah. Get ahead of the game. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Sonia, can we have the mic?
Hello, I'm Soumya again. So I loved your strategic direction where we drive every individual towards consuming everything as a service. So this approach is like taking a dig at every company, right? Like saying that every company selling products are focused towards their profit margins, right? They want to increase their economies and everything. So what is your advice to those companies who are really number focused? How can they protect themselves? If every individual is starting to probably they're just employing your strategy. Then how can companies protect themselves?
So they protect. I think I've been recently, there's an association called Agoria. I don't know if you know them. It's a Belgian industry association. And they had a meeting just a few days ago about everything as a service. And there were companies saying this is actually more profitable. So I'm not saying that we need to move and start cutting the profits of companies. It's so profitable that they didn't care about the environmental aspect. So I was there trying to say, guys, that's good that it's profitable, but measure also how good it is for your and for your clients' environmental issues. No, we're making money, just don't bother us, So everything is a service. It's becoming a new trend. In software, it's already a reality. Software is as a service. I mean, we don't need to talk about that. But think about it on material goods. And as the companies discover this world, they see that they actually can make it's as profitable, if not more. But we are trying, so now I'm on the other side of the fence saying, guys, that's fine that you're doing it, but also measure the environmental benefits, So it's not about protection. Some don't understand it and they are fast-moving goods, they will never be able to go as a service, okay? So there are some things that will never move, but major aspects still can do a lot. So it's not about protection, it's about incentivizing them. And so you are running a company that is doing that. It's your responsibility to go to your other clients and open their eyes and say, look, would you like to move? We can do that. We already are doing it with others. So that's what I'm asking you to do. You will have more and more clients that are data hungry because they are moving from products selling materials to selling services. That story has to be scaled and repeated in the next 10 years, like exponentially. And that is what I'm asking you to do.
It would drive a lot of new opportunity, arguably, as well, because typically an end-of-life server is not, unfortunately, recycled. It would drive more innovation in the end-of-life, end-of-material, kind of recycling, repurposing.
And recycling as well.
So,
I don't want to talk about recycling. It's a bad word, but at some point you have to go to it. But recycling is not ecology. So don't equate recycling with being ecological. Recycling is only when you cannot do anything else, okay. But it's the beginning of bad things because the material quality deteriorates. You cannot recycle electronics. I mean, energy and labor cost is huge. So durability, repairability, refurbishment, remanufacturing, everything but recycling. Recycling is like the only when you cannot do anything else. So we wanted to ask something.
Just a very last question. Will there be any assistance from the EU in terms of financial assistance to companies for this?
Yes. So one thing I didn't say, I'm working heavily on EU taxonomy to notice this change. So I have introduced 2-3 major topics in EU taxonomy. First, the one based on which the coalition is based, that ICT solutions that prove to avoid emissions can get sustainable finance. That means precision farming, energy efficiency of buildings, smartness, IT, connected mobility. How you measure is the coalition, what we do in the European Green Digital Coalition. We are introducing the standard method and guidelines how to measure your ICT solutions, but you are not really in the solutions, you are kind of the backbone of it. But if you partner with others, in these sectors, you can actually, we have methodology that will come up at the end of the year and standards how to do it. And you can get sustainable finance because you are net positive. So we say there is precision farming, so many drones, so many IoT. That is negative for sure, because those things have to be produced. But how much pesticides, fertilizers you're saving, it's positive. You take that and you can translate those positives into CO2. CO2 positive enabled minus the footprint of the solution, the direct. If net is positive, you can get sustainable finance. That's one. Second, there is the new EU Taxonomy Delegated Act. If you don't know what that means, forget that. We are saying what are the sustainable activities for circular economy, water management, and biodiversity. And I have introduced a new sector that says if you are doing IT or OT, operational, if you're doing data-driven service, to enable circular economy or to enable better water management, you can get sustainable finance. So indirectly, what I was just talking about, if you can help companies to be more circular, that operation they can ask to be financed. So your market can be green financed. So that is there, black and white. It was published last week.
It's fantastic news. Okay, I think
we're the longest 15
we're out of
minutes
time.
for me.
Yeah, sorry about that. Interesting conversation. Thank you very much, Ilias.
Thank you, Guy. Bye, guys.